This is Vashti, and her story is called The Dot, adapted from a book written and illustrated by Peter Reynolds. Vashti loved school. She was great at everything. She was great at math, she was fantastic at reading and writing, she loved science, and she was even great at recess. She was fantastic at recess. But there was one thing about school that really worried Vashti, and that was art class. That's right. She was worried that she was not good at art class. She was afraid that her drawings and her paintings weren't as great as everybody else's, and that really bothered Vashti to not be as great as everybody else. So one day, after everyone had left art class, Vashti sat glued to her seat, staring at her blank piece of paper. Her teacher looked at it and smiled and said, a polar bear in a snowstorm. Ha ha, really funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. I can't draw anything. I'm no good at this. I don't think that's true, said her teacher. It is true. I can't draw anything. Well, make a mark and see where it takes you, said her teacher. Fine, said Vashti, not very nicely, and grabbed a marker, uncapped it, and jabbed a piece of paper as hard as she could. There, she said, and threw the piece of paper at her teacher. Her teacher, who was a very patient person, obviously, looked at the paper for a good long while, and then very carefully slid it back over to Vashti and said, Great, now sign it. Sign it? Asked Vashti. Yes, sign it, said her teacher. Well, I may not be able to draw, thought Vashti, but I can sign my name. So she did. She signed her name at the bottom of the page. Well, the next week when she came into art class, what do you think she saw behind her teacher's desk? Except her dot on the wall, framed in a beautiful gold frame. Thought Vashti. And then she thought, I can make better dots than that. So she went to her desk and she opened up her never-before-used watercolors and set to work. She made big dots and little dots, pink dots and purple dots and yellow dots. She found out that if she mixed yellow dots with blue dots, she could make green dots. How cool is that? She made dots made of dots, and dots without making any dots at all, which takes mad skills when you think about it. A few weeks later, at the school art show, Vashti's dots were the talk of the show. Everybody was impressed. Vashti noticed one little boy looking at her from across the room. He finally got up the nerve to walk over and said, I just wanted to say that I wish I was as great of an artist as you are. Oh, I bet you can be, she said. And he said, Oh, no, I'm a terrible artist. I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler. And she said, why don't you show me? And she handed him her sketchbook. He drew the shakiest, curviest line you've ever seen in your life and handed it back to her. She took a few minutes to look at it, and then handed it back to him and said, Sign it. And that's how Vashti learned to stop worrying about her art and love the process.